Alrighty. Well, welcome tonight, everyone. We are thrilled that you are here, and thank you for taking time out of your day for yet another Zoom meeting. But this is one where we hope you will learn a lot that we're going to put to good use. And so this is the first of a two-part disinformation and social media bootcamp. A quick word about me. I'm Kim Snyder. I'm a co-lead for Indivisible New Rochelle. I have been working for the last 25 plus years in the technology space for nonprofits and really working as a technology educator. So it kind of made sense when disinformation landed on the horizon, and a couple of years ago was something we were all trying to figure out. And so I do love explaining technology and technology principles to people. I'm also very concerned as a citizen. Okay, and this is a pivotal year we have upon us. Disregard what you see there about the collaborative notes. I will say that during the course of this presentation, I will talk about people and different ideas about disinformation, really smart people who've talked about it. I do maintain this website, Indivisible New Rochelle and Indivisible Westchester, and this one, and it's disarmdisinfo.com. There are plenty of links on that website, and there are, to all these people I'll be talking about, there are videos and a curated set of articles. I also want to introduce the panelists this evening, my partners in crime on this, and that's, so Lauren, want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Lauren Foley. I come to this as both a part of Indivisible Westchester and Westchester for Biden, and work closely with Kim over the last couple of years. And we're ready to get to work for November.
Mark.
Yep. I'm Mark Clapper. I'm also involved with Indivisible Westchester and Westchester for Biden. Certainly ready to get to work. I'm also a digital marketer, although that seems like my hobby now, as opposed to this, but let's go.
All right, thank you. And thank you for collaborating on this one. All right, so first I'm gonna give you a little bit of context. Okay, some definitions, basic terminology. For some of you, because we did say no tech skills required. So just an important difference in definition here, a troll, okay, and a bot. A bot is software. A bot does automated things. It can do repetitive actions. It can do clicks, likes, and shares. Sometimes you'll get on a chat, get onto a chat, and it seems to magically answer back the questions or answer your questions, and you're talking to a chat bot. So bots can do pretty smart things these days, but the difference is they are software. A troll is a person. Kind of the most common definition is a person who's intentionally inflaming online. But they can take many forms, and what we see a lot of these days are trolls or individuals who are manipulating multiple accounts at the same time. Okay, so just important to remember the difference. One is software, one's a person. Okay. Algorithms is another term that you hear thrown around quite a lot, and think of algorithms as a set of instructions, like an advanced formula that keeps changing and evolving. An algorithm is a set of instructions. It solves problems, does calculations, but it also can feed you up content. Another model that I found helpful for thinking about algorithms is think of them as recipes. So an algorithm is a recipe, and the food for that recipe is data. Okay. So it tastes a little different depending on what food you put in. One other key concept here, and several definitions, misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. So you will hear misinformation and disinformation used interchangeably quite a lot. And they mean actually quite different things. It's all an intention, okay? So, and this graphic is brought to us by Claire Wardle of First Draft News. You will see, I will refer to there'll be other graphics from First Draft News. They're one of the really great resources on understanding disinformation that's out there. So what's the difference between misinformation and disinformation? It's all in intent, okay? So misinformation can be, you name someone wrong, you give the wrong dates, and you don't even see the corrections in the paper, and it's like, oops, we accidentally gave this information mistakenly, and they do a correction. That's misinformation. Disinformation is providing wrong information, but with the intent to knowingly cause harm, right? Malinformation is even worse, and you don't hear that one used so much, and we won't talk about it much tonight at all, but malinformation, think of WikiLeaks. So the emails and the content from the DNC server that was hacked and then used, that's malinformation, okay? So that's, but misinformation and disinformation are very different things, and it's important to kind of correct the record on that. Another term to not, to avoid using is fake news. That has lost meaning completely because of how Donald Trump uses it. It really doesn't have any, so, oh, that's fake news. So I tend to avoid using that term at all, and disinformation is information that's presented with the intention to cause harm or cause an intentional misunderstanding. Okay, sometimes it's not that clear though. So this was an actual person who I ran into at a town hall for our state senators, and she had this sign up and did not, and wanted me to see it and actually wanted me to take her picture, okay? So is this misinformation or disinformation, right? One could say that people, especially people in the anti-vax community, have been exposed to a lot of disinformation. So some of the origin sources for this are intentionally trying to bias people. But she herself, believing this to be true, is making this claim. Okay, now if she were only doing this for the purpose of harassing the senator, but actually didn't buy into this, then it'd be more misinformation. But this is a tough, like, edge case. Just good to think about. It's not always that clear. All right. So this cartoon was in the New Yorker magazine in 1993, and it was more prescient. It becomes more prescient every day. And you know, they're thinking then, back in 93, at kind of the dawn of people starting to go online, what anonymity and communication, anonymous communication, would be like, and what happens when you don't see the person that you're talking to. I see someone, I try not to look at the comments, but yes, the slides will be available. I'm gonna see that, but anyway, so, you know, they were asking back in 93, so what happens when all of a sudden we're able to have these conversations but not see each other, okay? That's part of what happens. So I'm still providing some context here, but I'm gonna do it around some of the platforms, okay? So how we used to get information, okay? So the people who made the content, the ones on the far left of this image, the content creators, the writers, photographers, artists, people making videos, would create it, but then there were gatekeepers. There was a middleman, if you will, that then curated that content or then made that content available to the public, right? So back in 1993, if you could write a book, you could write a manuscript, but that did not become a book until you got it published by a publisher, right? Similar things with video. I remember early days on the internet, even if you had a legitimately gotten video, it was like, you know, it was really hard to then push it online, okay? So this is how information for many, 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 many years, how we used to get information, right? And there were also, for a lot of this content, there's a paywall. So some of it costs money, right? Some of it still does, right? But between the people who make the content and the people who are consuming it, there was this large gatekeeper. The social media platforms have changed all that, okay? And this is kind of, disintermediation is a fancy, good word to throw around at a cocktail party, right? And basically, disintermediation means no more middleman. Okay, the middleman is gone, and the person creating the content now has all these channels to then get this stuff directly to the people consuming it. Okay, this massive change in model is part of why we are where we are today in a world awash with disinformation. Okay, there's also a lot of great information that we can get out there for free, right, on the internet, right? Most of it is probably more good than bad, right? But it's also a place where anyone can publish anything, okay? We thought of the internet in its early days as the great democratizer, bringing knowledge to all, right? It was going to be our great freedom. And the honeymoon's over, all right? So we're seeing what happens in this world where there is no middleman, right? Another thing we want to think about, how accelerated all this has been. The first iPhone came out in 2007. So what, that was 13 years ago? The smartphone was what really gave way to our being able to have all this kind of mobile content right at our fingertips, right? Before that, no smartphone, right? Facebook was first publicly available in 2006, okay? Around the same time, both of these things were brought out into the world. Okay? It took a little while for it to have some traction, but that was not that long ago when we think of where we are today, right? Today, and I've just recently updated this slide, right? Today, 2.7 billion active users are on Facebook. And these are people that log in. I don't know the precise definition of active user, but that is equal to, okay, there's 328 million people in the United States. So that's 8.23 United States, okay, worth of people on Facebook. Or 1.93 China's. And that kind of blows me away even more because there's almost 1.4 billion people living in China. So all of these people are on these platforms. Facebook probably has the greatest penetration. And I should say now that I'm going to talk a lot about Facebook tonight. That's going to be kind of the model that I'm talking about. But similar principles apply, whether you're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and so a lot of the ideas that I'm talking about and the principles are the same. There are, I will say, probably the greatest usage penetration is on Facebook. But there's many, many millions and millions of people on the other platforms. So how do they work, right? How does the social media warfare stuff work anyway? Okay, so we want to think again about the platforms and what they are. They are basically an attention economy. Okay, so Facebook is free. I have my account, it doesn't cost me any money, but it costs me my data. And Facebook is making gazillions of dollars, so there's something going on, right? And so we're tempted to say initially, well, they're advertising platforms, right? They're actually not. They do advertising, that's where they make their money, but they're really more behavior modification platforms because what the underlying algorithms of Facebook and these other platforms are doing is trying to keep us there longer, right? Our attention is the currency. So the longer we're there, the more ads we see, and the more value we have to Facebook, the longer we're there, okay? And another fact that's worth noting in the attention economy, outrage, much sexier than just plain old feeling good, all right? The things that trigger outrage tend to rise to the top because they keep us there longer. Another way of saying that would be negative emotion is more valuable than positive emotion. But that sounds kind of horrible, but I guess it kind of is. And that's part of the problem. All right, so viral messages, now we all are way too familiar with the term viral these days, but it's how messages get ranked and spread, right? They are built for viral advertising and sharing on a massive and exponential level. And you know, the information, so this disintermediated content, right? The information gets distributed massively, but it targets people individually. So as much as it propels out, when we actually get it, it's just me and my phone or me and my computer. It's usually me by myself consuming this content, right? So people end up sharing massively to their own crowds who then consume it on their own, okay? And this is how we get to what Renee DiResta will say, if you can make a trend, you can make it true. And that's living in a post-truth era. And I think 2018, officially, Oxford Dictionary called it like the post-truth era, right? Renee DiResta is someone we were lucky to have come and speak with us for Indivisible Westchester, CD16, and Rochelle last year. It seems like a lot longer than just last year, that's for sure. But Trump years was for like 5 years at once. But Renee is now working at the Stanford Internet Observatory, and she was one of the co-authors on the report to the Senate on the Russian disinformation, right? That's the first stuff that got us really looking at this, right? And so Renee is also someone that I have links to her content. She is one of the clearest writers on this stuff and incredibly, incredibly smart. Okay, you'll find links in Disarm Disinfo. And she talks a lot about, she actually got her start in the anti-vax universe. And looking at how people use share and like buttons and how this whole platform is really, you know, designed to kind of move content from one person to the next and the next, right? So this is from First Draft and Clara Wardle. And she's done a lot. She has a resource, The Age of Information Disorder. So we're definitely in that age. She thinks of disinformation as having a life cycle. Okay. So, and if we start kind of the anonymous web or those really deep dark nooks and crannies where like people are identityless on the web, closed or semi-closed networks, we're thinking about like people in Signal, and they're kind of, you know, WhatsApp groups that they're having group chats. Okay, so we're looking at how disinformation gets born, right, and how it grows up and goes out there. Okay, so when I talk about a life cycle, I'm being quite literal, but this is also not always linear, all right? But so this is kind of, so an idea for a disinformation campaign can get cooked up in one of these semi-closed networks, and then it can then pick up some heat in what we'll call conspiracy communities, right? And 4chan, 8chan. 8chan, I think, rose to prominence with the Christchurch shooter, right? That was a close community that he had been participating in. These communities are kind of notorious for lack of moderation and anything goes culture. Next door, however, you'll see that on there when we usually don't think of those as in the same breath as we do 8chan. But that ideas can get cooked up and take root in these smaller conspiracy communities where they then get propelled outward to these more viral platforms, right? Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, right? These platforms that are built to kind of push, right? Curation engines, if you will. Now, sometimes they go back and forth, right? So someone can push out a piece of content and then say, go out there on Twitter, I posted this, go out there and push it, right? Did you ever wonder why Tulsi Gabbard, when after the early Democratic debates, why she would get like people would vote and saying like they thought that like Tulsi and Kamala Harris won the debate that night, or Tulsi and Bernie, right? Tulsi, like why? Well, this was in the conspiracy communities. They love Tulsi, right? I think they call her like mommy something, Mommy Tulsi. They like voted her up. Like, so there were people voting in these polls that are nonsense anyway, because they can be gamed by these communities, right? So anyway, so in a lot happens in these conspiracy communities. It gets propelled out there in social media, and then finally something makes it into professional media, right? It's on the news, right? So that way, like my mom or somebody who's like not on social media then hears about this, disinformation, right? So let me give you an example. But this, like how it goes from nothing, an embryo, to out there into the world. So here's some real life examples that are pretty recent. So there was the Drunk Nancy video. Okay, this was some guy, I think he was in the Bronx. There was a question about whether there were other people in on it with him. Anyway, he saw, oh man, I could slow her video down and she'd look like she's loaded. And so he went ahead and did that. And so he then posted it on some far right Facebook groups, right? So he took it out there. And then told a bunch of people in these closed communities, and you'll be hearing about one of them in just a second. And then within a few hours, this thing's got 2 million views. Okay, well, Rudy Giuliani retweeted. So, when people who have a massive following, Trump, when he retweets something, a lot of people just follow along. It gets a lot of media attention. Okay, and then before we know it, Drunk Nancy video is on the news. You're reading about it in the New York Times, right? And then everyone knows, like, oh, the Nancy video. Same thing with the pandemic video movie. And I don't know how many out here were had an encounter with this, but the pandemic video got cooked up in a very small community initially. Okay, very, very close. And these were anti-vaxxers. And this was part of the Fire Fauci kind of initiative. And they made a slick and polished video, basically about how COVID was planned and this is all, the medical stuff is all BS, blah, blah, blah. They did something really smart when they pushed that out there, okay? They said, in addition to getting it out there and getting 8 million views within a week, they told their followers, right, you better download it and share it because they are probably going to take it down, okay? And that's a good conspiracy theory tactic, right? They're going to come and get it, so download it and share it on your own, right? So so we don't even really know how many people saw this thing. I had someone who is in the medical profession ask me about, did you hear about this video? And I was like, oh God, right? Another one, and this is like much smaller scale and much like more completely ridiculous, Clinton body count, right? So this got Terrence Williams, got a big following, including Trump. When Jeffrey Epstein killed himself or got killed or whatever happened, right? He hashtag Clinton body count. Like Hillary Clinton went in there and did this. Like she had nothing better to do. Oh, and she got into the downtown detention center. Okay, so he made a whole video yammering about this, and then Trump retweets it, right? And so, like 148,000 retweets later, Trump's one of them. So these things go exponentially. And I will add that one of the resources, it's the Twitter account, Conspirador Norteño, does incredible data visualization graphics of the spread of tweets. Okay, he does amazing work and posts new stuff like every day. All right, so these are things that get traction from those conspiracy communities. The biggest conspiracy community, okay, the Donald on Reddit, 790,000 participants, with tens of thousands sometimes on at the same time. So again, remember those Tulsi votes. So here's some good news. Bang! It got taken down on June 29th. Okay, Reddit, right? So this is, we start to make people aware of what happens, you know, with hate speech, which is basically what this was full of and why it broke Reddit's probably not too stringent, you know, rules of the game, but they were it was hate speech, racism, and violent threats. Okay, and the CEO of Reddit got pressured by co-workers by his colleagues, and they don't want to lose colleagues right now. So the algorithms, I'm okay on time. Okay, checking. A little faster. Okay, so algorithms, they determine what you see next. Okay, they work with your personal data. Many people like just hear the, you know, the algorithm, right? So what makes algorithms tick? So what makes something, this will be more relevant next week in the follow-up, but just what makes something tick, who posts it, and these are Facebook's rules, and they're always changing ever so slightly, but who posted it? Do you typically interact with them? What kind of post is it? Facebook really likes you to keep them, you know, keep people on their platform. So if you share something that's native to Facebook, and it particularly likes video, right? And how popular, so how much activity has the post had, how much discussion has it generated, right? How much shares and comments. Facebook has introduced the teeny tiniest amount of transparency here. Now, when you're in Facebook, you can click on the 3 dots on the upper right and say, why am I seeing this post? And it will tell you a little bit of why you're seeing this post, right? Because you're friends with so-and-so, I've liked so-and-so's post. This is actually from my Facebook feed. I've liked that person's post more than posts from others. I've opened posts with links, and this post is popular compared with other ones that I'm seeing, okay? And then I can choose whether or not to follow that person, right? So there's a tiny bit of transparency. This phenomenon, right, of being shared up content by people I like, and remember, by the attention economy, where the longer I stay, the more, you know, value I have, has led to this idea of a filter bubble. This is Eli Pariser, who's another one of the really smart people that whose content I feature. Right? He talks about what ends up happening then is what I see ends up being different than like what Lauren or Mark sees on their feed, because my friends are a little different. I respond to content a little bit differently. And so I'm seeing what I see, right? So, but I don't see what Lauren and Mark see. I don't see what I'm not seeing, okay? And what this has led to, right, is this hyper-personalized feed of content that is more and more tailored to me, that can be more and more different from you, right? Because we have different habits. And so the more I'm on, the more insular my social media world becomes, right? So the more out there I am, the more in here I am, right? We wonder how we've gotten to a world that is as completely polarized as it is. This is part of the reason, right? I don't see, Eli Pariser worked early days. He came up with these ideas in 2011, which is early for this stuff. Because I think he worked for MoveOn, and he was seeing that, wow, I see completely different stuff than my Republican friends would see. Remember when we had Republican friends? Anyway, just kidding. But you know, he was seeing how what his content is so different, and like, wow. So it ain't chronological at all, right? It's very carefully chosen by the algorithm that knows me pretty well, at least from a Facebook standpoint. Okay, but this idea of filter bubbles, when you think about it, when you think about why are we where we are, right? And so thinking about getting back to these platforms and disinformation content tends to appeal very highly to identity, to pride, to like my pride, to my in-group, not, you know, my group, not your group, right? Social media disinformation is a product of the platform serving it up, right? Tends to appeal to our baser instincts, the outrage, right? The outrage triggers and the righteousness. And much of it today is about generating chaos and eroding truth, right? So here's just a quick example of using identities and what you can get away with online. Remember, on the internet, they don't know you're a dog. So Heart of Texas, United Muslims of America are both two groups that were set up by the Russian Internet Research Agency. Okay, so guys in a, probably guys in a building in St. Petersburg, Russia, set up these Facebook groups. They had, each of them, a ton of followers, 250, or almost 254,000 in the Heart of Texas. The United Muslims of America had 328,000 people in them. Okay, these were not Muslims or Texans. These were probably 20-year-old guys in St. Petersburg. Okay, on May 21st, they were going to have a rally. Okay, so each of these groups was having a rally, and there was the opening of a new Islamic Center library in Houston, Texas. And so the Heart of Texas group was planning their rally for 12 p.m. to stop the Islamization of Texas, right? The United Muslims fake group had a Save Islamic Knowledge rally, right at the same corner, but across the street, okay? So they did this from 4,000 miles away, and that's important to realize. Now, it's easy. You can see how they do it. You don't need like 20,000 people at a rally. And if you have Facebook friends and you think you're interacting with another person from Texas, even if you've never met them, hey, I can't make it. I was organizing this event. Can you like be boots on the ground for me, please? And so, all right. So on that date, at around noon, there was these actual rallies opposing each other, right? And this had been orchestrated from, you know, many thousands of miles away, right? So that's what can happen. And it's the appeal to the identity politics, right? Heart of Texas, right? Anti-immigrant. And we're seeing a lot of that come out of the Trump campaign these days. All right, that was Russia. And Russia is bad. And people will say, like, should we stop worrying about Russia? Yes and no. I think the real problem, and I do look at this stuff a lot, and probably more than is healthy for the human mind. I probably have to have some sort of detox at some point of this. But I think the real danger is here. And I first got interested in studying this stuff through looking at what happened with Russia, what Russia was able to do. And I don't think they're completely, like, I don't think they're like wallowing around doing nothing. I just think the real dangers are here now, right? So Donald Trump, I'm going to look at the tactics that they're using, okay? So Donald Trump's campaign director was his former social media director, Brad Parscale, who's become famous by now, right? And we thought he'd get canned after Tulsa, but he appears to still have a job for now. But he is a social media marketer. This is what this guy does, okay? So Donald Trump, and this is probably, you know, he takes a lot of his cues from Brad and a lot of his ideas, but to all of his great keyboard warriors, you are better and far more brilliant than anyone on Madison Avenue, he's got to say. That's ad agencies, right? There's nobody like you, okay? His keyboard warriors are his supporters, are his volunteers, okay? We don't do that on our side, and we need to. part of our problem is we think, and I say this as one of us, you know, it's like identity here, like, you know, but I'm on the side of the right, the good and the virtuous. I don't need to do this crap, right? No, I do need to do this crap. The more I've studied this, the more I realize, why are we so frigging silent over here, the Democrats? It's like we're waiting for someone else to do it. Or it's only the barbarians at the gate that are doing it. No, this is where it plays out, all right? And we're in COVID now. We're in a pandemic. So we have got to get active and busy, right? We have justifiable indignation, right? But we got to get loud, really loud about it, okay? And we need to support back. We need to be Joe Biden's keyboard warriors. Why are we even having this workshop? I was sitting on a Joe Biden, a Westchester for Biden call, and I forget who was the main speaker, but I dropped someone who was like from the national side of things, and I dropped into the chat, right? Like, so when's Joe Biden's social media organizing team gonna, like, you know, come up with a strategy? I put this in, okay? True confession. And then I'm sitting there, like, on the same call, and I was looking at Mark and Lauren. I'm like, oh my God, we're the social media team. That's who's the team, Kim. Like, wake up. We're in New York. I mean, we're in New York, and not everyone here is from New York. But we need to do this, right? This is what we can do in a blue state. This is what we can do remotely from any state, actually. And I'm so glad we have so many people from all over the place in here. We need to get active. We need to get loud. We need to get rude. And we need to be those keyboard warriors. Not his, but, you know, right? So we are the army, actually. So Donald Trump is a marketer par excellence, and he's got Brad Parscale, who is a bit of a one-trick pony, I will say. Brad's Facebook, Trump is Twitter, right? But Brad Parscale, they could make impeachment a friggin' marketing campaign, okay? Like, not a lot of people can pull that off. When Donald Trump was being impeached, okay, he ran fundraising campaigns off of that, all right? To say, like, you know, give me money for the Trump impeachment fund, and people funneled money into his Facebook, you know, donation ads. Okay, I also want to say that during the Trump impeachment campaign, and we'll call it exactly what it was, a campaign to go on, their campaign tested more than 10,000 different ads about impeachment and about how they would play. And should he wear a striped tie, a blue shirt, a white shirt? Does he stand like this or should he stand like that? What should be in his background? And they targeted that at different audiences. Okay, one of the things that social media platforms allow you to do, and this is, you could argue that this micro targeting needs to be able to be turned off for political campaigns, but we'll save that for the next time out. Like, they're being used now on Facebook. And they tested, okay, with this kind of person, with this type of background, with these data characteristics, it is incredible. It's a data gold mine is what Facebook is, all right? So in 2016, they ran a ton of micro-targeted negative ads. I mean, I'm sure Hillary's campaign was doing some, but I don't think they were really targeting people in that really strategically. Ever wonder why Trump had those rallies in all those weird places, right? Those were districts in purple states that they could kind of swing, right? So here you have your kind of portfolio of different approaches to being anti-Hillary, right? Demonizing hardworking people. They targeted these to different kinds of audiences, right? Well, they're doing the same thing now. Okay, so they've got Biden joined the segregationists. Actually, Obama, I think, made them take that one down. Okay, there's the Biden's an old friend to China. You know, they can go on the anti-Chinese COVID, you know, God knows that whole thing there. All right, the Hunter Biden, I will say one of the gratifying things is that the Hunter Biden, he really wanted that to stick. I mean, man, Ukraine, right? But it kind of didn't get that sticky, which is good, right? The thing they're really going after is this: is Biden too old? Does he have all of his mental faculties? Okay, so this is their angle, right? And they are targeting these kinds of ads to different audiences. All right, they're probably not doing the too old ads to the older people, to the older Republican voters. No, they're probably doing the China ones. So they will continue to look for stuff, and they're going to try to dig up stuff around Hunter Biden. God knows, all right? The alt-right influencers are another group of people that have the capacity. They kind of have special star power in the closed communities and out there on the social media platforms in general. My favorite far-right social or alt-right influencer that I love to hate is Mike Trinovich. Mike is an anti-feminist, male supremacist rape promoter, okay? Seriously. He actually got his law degree and was disbarred because he had a rape conviction. He has been a far-right provocateur. He, last I looked, he had about 626,000 followers, and he's known for boosting stuff like Pizzagate. Mike was the one behind the Hillary's health stuff, okay? So, so that whole is Hillary Clinton, if she was known for anything, okay, she was known to be a workhorse, okay, not a sickly person. She was like you can't turn it off, like the ever ready, the bunny, right, the Energizer bunny. She was not like the sickly Hillary. Okay, this was a concoction. And then she happened to get sick, which didn't help matters, but fed into that. But that was not her thing. This kind of came out of thin air. Chernobyk, I am sure, is behind the Joe Biden is too old. Joe Biden's not, of sound mind. Oh God, the Dems don't really want him. And you'll notice he didn't even change his font approach from 2016 till now. He's using the same typeface and this whole same kind of design. Like, come on, Mike, get a life. So this stuff is out there. And the thing is, he has a ton of followers that then jet propel this, his own little keyboard warriors that, also by default work for Trump. Manipulated video, we talked about. Nancy, it seems that Joe Biden is really kind of like, he gets targeted by this more, or maybe they're just using it more. People were really like freaking out about deep fakes, and we still could, and there's still a danger to them. Manipulated video where they make you say things you didn't really say. I have a feeling like deep fakes may be easier to detect because they're a software manipulation. So, like, malicious edits, deceptive edits are a different story. There's just edited video. They're making it look like Biden's saying stuff he didn't say, like he's saying this racist thing over here. He's saying, oh, we have to reelect Donald Trump. Really? He's known for sometimes putting his foot in his mouth, so he's a little bit more vulnerable to that. So just bear that in mind and hold these tactics. I'm kind of walking through each of them. I'm probably making people feel really uncomfortable and unhappy, but knowledge is power. There's the deluge of false narrative, okay? This was Steve Bannon's thing. What was his quote was, the Democrats don't matter. The real opposition is the media. And the way to deal with them is to flood the zone with shit, okay? So that's Steve Bannon's approach, a post-truth world where nothing's true anymore. So here we had like the false narrative deluge of all time was that frigging server, okay? So Hillary's server, we have it in every, imaginable, right? So now we've got like the false narratives that we see them cooking up. Let's see if Hunter sticks. I'm not, see where that goes. The Sleepy Joe though is one that keeps coming back, right? In fact, that's his nickname. That's Trump's nickname for him, Sleepy Joe, right? But here's something kind of cool. All right, so I was researching for this latest iterations presentation, the rebranding of Sleepy Joe. This is actually really smart. This was never on time. Someone in India put together this graphic after Jill Biden kind of responded at some event saying, well, you know, should Joe win the election in November, the country will finally be able to sleep at night, okay? And you don't have to worry about crashing the economy or corruption in government. You can just sleep because they're talented, thoughtful public servants in the White House, led by a commander-in-chief you can trust, Dr. Biden said. Okay? So that's actually got some teeth to it, I think. the rebranding of Sleepy Joe to finally get to sleep at night. So that's something take note of in here, social media warriors, keyboard warriors for Joe. Fake local news. This is like a laundry list of crap, but you need to know about it. A bunch of conservative groups, you know, local news has been way underfunded over the years and has closed down local news companies. And so what's kind of risen like fungus in their midst have been groups like Locality Labs, which is a far-right conservative group that publishes these kind of fake local papers, right? But they're not. This is like run by the same group and all the content looks the same. You know, you might see some friends, like especially people living in those districts, those swingable districts in swing states is probably home to a lot of these. So I'm really glad there are people on the call from all over the place. Pay attention to this, and because this stuff should get called out for what it is. And especially when people we know post stuff like, oh my God, did you see this? It's like, oh, it's fake, you know? But just Trump, you know, his Facebook feed tends to link to these articles sometimes. They're always they tend to like, they're kind of like fertilizer, right? When Donald Trump comes to do a rally somewhere, right, you kind of plant a little fertilizer ahead of time so that it grows the support. They'll plant some pro-Trump articles, some anti-democratic stuff articles, anti-taxes. They want to, you know. So just be on the lookout. Astroturfing, you will hear that term used, and that's basically manufactured crowds. You really saw that with the anti-vaxxers. Not that many of them, but man, they make themselves look big. Especially on the internet and especially in the era of COVID when we don't really know where everyone else is living. You can, the same 10,000 people can follow Liberate Michigan, Liberate Pennsylvania, Liberate Texas, Liberate wherever. I mean, the same group of people, who care, like who knows, right? So there are people who specialize in setting up these fake like communities to make it look like there's tons of support for this idea, right? Tons of support for, you know, not wearing face masks, whatever, in Michigan. Now, good news, there are also really smart people. See, Aaron Gallagher over here was like, man, there seem to be like a couple hundred of these sprouting up and all by the same people. So they get exposed much more quickly than they ever did in 2016, okay? The World Health Organization has actually labeled COVID as giving way to an infodemic. Okay, this is a complete overwhelm of information that ends up delegitimizing actual information. So people don't end up trusting like the media or health organizations. So what do then? They go and listen to what their friends are sharing, right? It's more trustworthy. Except there is a lot of real crazy stuff out there. Fox News, I wonder if they're going to be successful in suing them, somebody, over their false information on COVID. They should. There are a lot more people sick because of them. But there's crazy theories about Bill Gates funded COVID, right? The guy who's been working on World Health for how many years? And of course, the Made in China. I'm half Chinese, so I take this one a little personally when it's the Kung flu, but you know, this is all part of this, you know, flood the zone with shit, Steve Bannon's strategy. right? Then no one knows what to believe. Okay, there's been another huge, so anytime there's something big that happens, right? And George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests, right? A lot of media attention on this, also a lot of disinformation, right? And an infodemic. Okay, we've got like this Texas GOP chairwoman pushing conspiracy theories. George Floyd's death was fake to hurt Trump, right? So I mean, you get like people will come out with the craziest stuff. Also, donations to Black Lives Matter actually go to the DNC. And every once in a while, we'll get a little bit of this information that we kind of wishful thinking. Lights out at the White House, right? That was unfortunately not true either. All right. Okay, good news again. All right, let's take a little good news for people. Black Lives Matter on their homepage. Okay. Help us fight disinformation. We need to see what you see. Black Lives Matter is a central target of disinformation, and you are a key line of defense, warriors. Okay, report suspicious site stories, add social accounts and posts about Black Lives Matter, and you push the button that's on their homepage, right? You put you type disinformation Black Lives Matter into Google, you get to that page, right? There's a forum for collecting potential disinformation stories. This was never there in 2016, okay, this type of thing, right? We also have people like Jane Litvinenko, and this is especially around certain disinformation campaigns like George Floyd's death and the early days of COVID, actually, when the disinformation was really flying when it was first taking root here in the US. She literally keeps track of disinformation and hoaxes and publishes on BuzzFeed and has new articles all the time. I have links to their stuff. I follow her. If I want to know like what kind of disinformation BS is trending today, like what are people trying to lie about today, I go to this woman's feed and see what she's talking about. Okay, so there are amazing people out there working. Okay. All right, here we are. The facts don't matter. Jeopardy. I kind of like this cartoon, right? Sorry, Jenny, your answer is correct, but Kevin shouted his answer louder, so he gets a point. So this is the warriors part of it, okay? If you make a trend, you make it true, right? A lie, and this is Goebbels, right? Nazi. A lie told once remains a lie, but a lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth. The other side talks a lot louder than us, and they amplify stuff, right? So back in New York last year, we're so thrilled. Our true blue New York State Senate and Assembly passed the Women's Reproductive Health Act, right? Major step forward for women's health. Many of us had knocked doors endlessly and talked to voters and brought out voters so that we could have these kinds of laws passed. They passed the law. We even, some of us know some of the people who are doing this, and so we knew this was going to happen, or we had some inkling, right? When the law passed, did we do anything? No. Did we go out there and make a huge flurry of tweets saying, wow, this is such a step forward for women's health? And no, nothing, nada, okay? Just a few people may have. On the right, they were all over this, okay? We're in the midst of a spiritual battle, and these were high influencer accounts tweeting this crap. Late-term abortion, now legal in New York, but they still outlaw capital punishment, right? So we are like killers and murderers in New York. Meanwhile, on the left, we're like, oh, but they did the right thing. Isn't that good, right? And they're like screaming on the right, right? And then what happens? CBS, now they did retract this. CBS, this was actually a headline of theirs for a brief period of time, passes a law allowing abortions up until the baby's due date. This was not, in fact, true. Gave the Mother's Health Service. So that's how it crosses the chasm, becoming like real news. And a lot of this was because we didn't make anything trend. We didn't talk about why this was an important piece of legislation, about what this, why it's so important that New York did this. Okay, and I'm not saying, I see someone saying about fights with Trumper families. Okay, I'm family members. I'm talking about our own side. I'm talking about so that CBS picked up our stuff. Forget the Trumpers at this point, right? Same thing, super coordinated defenses. Okay, Lila Rose, all right, she runs this Facebook group, Live Action. It's anti-abortion group. She founded it when she was 15 years old, and now she's 31. Okay, 16 years of like out there, but all on social media. Okay, so last September, Lila was on doing a Facebook video saying abortion's not really medically necessary. Okay, this got flagged by the Facebook fact checker, and it got taken down. Facebook finally did something that we would want it to do, like yay, but we weren't there saying yay. We weren't there saying, wow, thank you for taking down that irresponsible and incorrect content. Thank you, Facebook. No, I think I don't know, and we also don't pay attention to what the other side is doing either. And we need to, not just us on this call, but in general, legislators, a lot of people need to pay more attention to stuff. So what does Live Action do? Because they know how to be loud, if nothing else. All right, Facebook has labeled up, it says false, it's censorship. They get on Fox News later that night. Facebook rates this anti-abortion video. They're like talking to everyone they know, and they even enlist like far rights. They have Ted Cruz right in the battle. Cruz like goes and makes their lives miserable, like probably scares Mark Zuckerberg a little bit. Facebook took down their fact check. All right. Now, would they've done it anyway? Maybe, because they were so coordinated. But the thing is, there was nowhere was there a counter argument. So like, it is so important that we have these fact checkers, right? And we really need to get loud. Planned Parenthood needs to get loud. These nonprofits need to invest in this and get loud. And needs to, but we need to be more united. They are so like lockstep, right? And we get caught in these like, kind of battles over semantics, right? We cannot afford that. All right, so we did have a moment of glory, yes. Okay, all right. So TikTok grandma, she's like the best, and the Biden campaign hired her, right? So this woman, I don't know, she's in her 50s. She's like making her TikTok video saying, you know what? You can just sign up for these tickets to the Tulsa rally. And all you got to do is put in your phone number, but, legally, they have to stop texting you if you type stop once they start to barrage you. So you can so let's see how many we can get. And then she went to bed, right? The next day she woke up and holy crap, it was all over the place. And Lauren, didn't your kids do this?
Yes, both of my daughters had quote unquote tickets to the rally. And more importantly, the next morning, they were activated. So whether it really worked or didn't work, they were activated. They were like, what can we do next? And I said, have you ever seen a postcard before? So, it's working. It's working.
So she kind of gave birth again to this phenomenon, and then it spread, right, in these groups. The thing they did that was brilliant, okay, because it didn't actually stop people from going to the actual event, right? Because it was probably COVID that stopped people from going to the event, right? Now they did, but what it did was it set expectations up so high for the campaign. And there's Brad, bragging, there's 800,000 signups, 1 million. We're gonna have an overflow stage. Well, they couldn't even fill the friggin', it was a half-empty stadium. And Trump was having a canary, right? Can you imagine that, right? So that was friggin' brilliant, right? And now first thing I saw this morning was Mike Pompeo, Trump, was they're thinking about banning TikTok. I think, it's because Brad Parscale, their one-trick social media pony, can't figure it out. They're actually really, I think TikTok folks are also really messing around with the white supremacists and doing all kinds of stuff with their white supremacist hashtags, so that then they'll type them in and see all these other videos, which is really smart. But they, know how to do this. So how do we fight that, right? All right, 2 things, long-term and a short-term. I know we want to change the system. I do. And I'm really committed to this, and I'm thrilled to see all these people. on the call and having signed up for these workshops, and I will be in touch with you later. Long term, past November, okay? And I am totally committed to continuing this fight when we vote this guy out, okay? It's going to take legislative pressure, the big changes, and educating elected officials. We need to be able to, elected officials need to understand this, or need to at least understand what they don't know, so that then they can bring people on who do know this stuff, because they need to advocate. These companies are American companies. There is more they could do, but I think they are flummoxed by the technology, right? There are very specific asks. It's not censorship. You think about, it's not the freedom of speech as much as the freedom of reach, okay? There are lots of angles and ways into this. It's not going to happen before November 3rd, and it's not going to happen until we vote him the hell out of there, okay? There are partnerships, and we're working on them with other groups and other organizations. And I'm totally committed to this, because I feel like the future of society, because for all those reasons, all that polarization, that is just killing us. And I think it's toxic. In the short term, all right, the first thing, it's a great cartoon series, which I will make sure there's a link to, on like how to beat back disinformation. Okay, it's from NPR. Okay, first thing, your own behavior. Okay, pause before posting something, especially when it's tempting. All right, be doubtful, verify, do a fact check. You know, if you see something false, let others know and don't share it. Okay, you know, I see sometimes there's lately been some graphics going around about coronavirus that I see people posting, but they're from Russia Today. It's who's publishing them, so I don't know that I give them more traction. Don't give in to our lizard brains. Okay, this is a highly emotional time, and for any of those who aren't familiar with the term, lizard brain is our like pure emotional id, right? Our thinking brain is like, forget it. It's just like, right? It's that part of us, okay? So especially if the lizard brain gets activated, cool it down, 4-second pause there, right? The outrage trigger makes us go. And remember, the platforms reward it. So the platforms are pushing that stuff more than some of the other things. And, you know, the moral outrage. And there's going to be a lot of that to come. All right, here's a nice little bonus. The Trump taxonomy. This is what I do when I see like some of the really crazy crap going out there and people freaking out about what Trump is doing. Okay, he basically has 4 tactics. Preemptive framing, okay, that's being the first to frame an idea, right? The Buffalo protester, he was Antifa, right? Diversion, diverting attention from real issues. Well, that could just be about anything he tweets now, couldn't it? Like take the pick. Deflection, attack the messenger. So it's fake news. It's, you know, blah, 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 when he's like screaming at reporters. Trial balloons. Test the public's reaction to a crazy idea. You think Kanye was one of those? Yes, someone's saying, yes, this is George Lakoff, and I should have credited him. It's in too tiny print, but really smart on, you got to remember that he's not like the smart guy. In fact, all over the news today was Fordham was trending. It's because he cheated to get in there, apparently. So he's not that, so these are like the 4 tactics. And so what I often do when there's like an outrageous thing being floated is, okay, folks, which one do you think it is? A, B, C, or D? Think about it. And that's often enough. How are they trying to manipulate you? Friends don't let friends share disinformation. So sometimes, you know, we see each other do it, and you don't call people out publicly, but it's like you DM them, and you say, hey, did you check the source? Or, you know, that story might be overstating something, or, do you know that's Russia Today? You know, it's not, it's an intervention from a friend, right? A gentle nudge. I get asked this question a lot. Like these trolls, like, should I just argue with them? And God, it's so tempting. You just want to like let them have it. But here's the thing. Melissa Ryan, who's another person whose work you'll see, said to me once when I was learning early days of kind of my getting my feet wet in this stuff. She said, "Oh no, Never fight with the trolls. It's a race to the bottom, and they don't have one. Okay? So there you go. And if anybody asks you that, you can feel free to quote Melissa Ryan. Here's the last thing, okay? And this is, thank God we're out of primary season, that's all I'm going to say. All right. When's the last time an argument on Facebook actually changed your mind, right? The green parts of the pie are you change your mind. The blue parts of the pie are they change their mind. And the red part, which is the whole 100% of the pie, no one changes their mind about anything and everyone's pissed off. Okay? This is what happens when we get on debate. And you know what? Democrats are really good at this. No, I think I'm a little bit more right than you are. No, but if you said it this way, it would really, you know, it's like, we don't have time for that. We have to get Trump the hell out of office. Like, and even some of these debates about, like, you know, the health care, you know, I'm a real pragmatist. We need to get Trump out of office or none of us are going to be, like, none of any of these things we want are going to, the more of the good stuff will be taken away. Okay? It's not, and social media, if we're going to have that debate, okay, Facebook is not the place to have it. I have listened to hundreds of podcasts on disinformation and how to respond, okay? And the consensus is stop trying to have discussions on Facebook. Have a discussion in real life, or I guess these days, socially distant real life, or on Zoom, right? Have a talk to someone, because you're never going to say that stuff to them that you would say on Facebook in person. You have a more humane conversation. Okay, and some people are saying that's why I'm not on Facebook, and I actually think we need more of our side on Facebook, just not acting out on Facebook, right? The thing is, it's too easy to get baited, right? Don't let yourself be baited, right? There needs to be, remember, we're the keyboard warriors. If we're not there, we can't do it, all right? Yeah, so there are lots of discussions that Facebook is not the place to discuss everything. And so finally, we've got to amplify the right stuff. You know, here's the thing. A lot of us are going to be helping Shelley Mayer and Pete Hart. We're going to be helping Shelley Mayer defeat Dr. Liv, you know, whatever you, and also, I believe Rob Astorino is back in town, right? On Pete Harcum, okay? These smaller campaigns like Pete and Shelley, okay, especially, if they had keyboard warriors tuned into them, okay, if every time Pete or Shelley tweeted or Facebook posted something and like 150 likes and like, yeah, way to go, piled on there, and then when like Dr. Liv, like, right? So this is where it plays out. We are on social media. We're in a pandemic, so this is where a lot of it's going to play out. So session 2 with Lauren and Mark, next Tuesday from 7 to 8:30. I do have a